This is Radar from the Radar Tape coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations of 131. Due to Jewish holidays, the most holiest day on the planet, Yom Kippur, and whatnot, only 4 movies I had left. First one I watched was like almost 2 hours long, and somehow the library thought they had this special 2-disc set version of a director-approved special edition where it's like you look inside and one's the Crittenden collection, all this stuff, and there's like a little booklet in there. And I'm going to say this. I'll give Regina Hall credit for trying to make a historical moment out of one small gathering of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. But when the movie's almost 2 hours, you kind of lose interest and you're just a little bit bored. And the other thing is, Aldous Hodge, he's a good actor, but he looks nothing like Jim Brown. This Ellie Gorey, he somewhat looked like Cassius Clay, but I feel like the guy who more looks like Muhammad Ali Cassius Clay is this dude who's currently been on Flash, who like this character that control like time or something. And then the guy playing Sam Cooke, Leslie Odom Jr., I guess like let's get an actor who's really a musician who's acted somewhat. And Leslie Odom Jr.'s been in some movies here and there. The only guy that actually looked like him was Kingsley Ben-Adir. He actually really looked like Malcolm X more than anything else. And this is all about, after Cassius Clay won a fight, he's converting to Islam. He happens to be friends with Jim Brown, who's around the time of retiring from playing football because he wants to act. And I just like the nostalgia of seeing a movie about Jim Brown and Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X. It was okay. It's not the world's greatest movie. It's not the worst movie. It was okay. It was just more interesting than anything else. Then I watched the movie F9, and it's been a while since I saw F8. Because we're here in 2022, and this came out in 2021. I watched, obviously, the theatrical version. So, obviously, one issue I had is having Charlize Theron in the movie again, even though she's been a character before. Waste. A little bit of a Kurt Russell tease in there as well. The whole shadow, elephant in the room. This guy is back in the movie. We all thought he was dead, spoiler alert. They said, let's bring Jordana Brewster back, who hasn't been in the movies in a while. But again, I felt like she's more of like a love interest and not somebody that does all these scenes. And obviously, Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson doing their usual banter back and forth was awesome. And Michelle Rodriguez and her whole thing with Vin Diesel. I forgot that Vin Diesel had a kid and forgot where it came from. It's been a while. And at the same time, they were like, well, The Rock has been feuding with Vin Diesel, so he's not going to be in it. Helen Mirren had a cameo. We're going to make this story where John Cena, who looks like regular, super white guy, and Vin Diesel, where people can't tell what his race is. Is he Italian? Is he Hispanic? Is he Russian? Whatever he is. And then he's a long-lost brother that they never talked about, him and Jordana Brewster in the movie. And that all to do with his father and his introduction into racing, and the two of them into racing, and how their connections are each other. And again, I love the movie because, again, they got to save the day. They went from just, being about themselves to saving the day. The acting is pretty good. I forgot this British black lady. I wasn't sure who she was, or Hispanic, whatever she is. The cool cars, the fast racing, the high-stakes, mission at the beginning, high-stake mission throughout the movie, the fighting scene. Like, overall, I'm still, baffled. Like, oh, yeah, these regular people, like Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Ludacris, and Tyrese Gibson's characters, they know how to fight. I understand Vin Diesel's character. I even understand John Cena's character, but as someone not believable. But it's a very enjoyable movie. If you're a fan of the franchise like I am, and you like these movies, that you're just like, yeah, the more the better. Let's keep going. But obviously, having John Cena in the movie gave him another person, because Paul Walker passed away, and there was no Statham, and there was no The Rock. So you needed another, big-time actor. And I guess they wanted another WWE star. And also, I don't really buy John Cena being evil in any way. Yeah, he's a Suicide Squad character who's more of a vigilante more than anything else, because that's his name, but, he's more of a vigilante, peacemaker more than anything else. So, him being bad, I didn't buy it. But again, I liked the movie. I had so much fun watching it. It's the best movie I watched this week, where I like the banter, and I like bringing back Jordana Brewster and Han, and adding, Cena into the cast. I thought it was pretty good. I just wish Dwayne The Rock Johnson would go back to the movie. Then I watched the movie Eternal. Everyone was telling me how bad it was. First things first, no movie has to be almost 2.5 hours. when there are scenes about people dating life and personal life that don't really add to the context. Yes, you give the origin story, how these characters were created and what their purpose were, and finding out what the real purpose was, blah, 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 and you got to show the past, you got to show the being that is in charge, and Salma Hayek's character. But I felt like Angelina Jolie played a more of a side character, and she's more of a bigger time actor than the original woman in this movie, you know? That I was like, you know what? You know, it was nice. She was interesting. She had all these powers, this Gemma Chan, but I didn't feel like she is a lead in a movie. You know, I didn't also feel that the Richard Madden dude was also like a lead in the movie. And throughout the movie, I'm wondering, this dude looks like Bucky. He looks like Sebastian Stan. I don't know what it is, but he's like a Superman-esque character. He's got powerful. And this Mac D song, I'm not saying Asian characters look at each other, you know, Gilgamesh, but if you don't look closely, you think that's Wong from Doctor Strange's movie. So that was interesting. Salma Hayek, barely in the movie. Her character is like the one giving orders, which doesn't seem like it. I feel like Angelina Jolie's character or the Richard Madden character seem like more leader. And I'm going to say this. I'm a huge fan of Kumail Nanjiani because I'm one of the people that originally watched the show Franklin and Bash and thought it was hilarious who this guy was. And he blew up with the Silicon Valley. And they're like, cool. He has the big sick. But I don't buy him as a superhero. Now, Barry Keoghan, who everyone's talking about, is he's a pretty good actor. And he was in the Batman movie. And you're just like, okay, cool. So, like, this guy has been in a big-time blockbuster DC movie and a big blockbuster, obviously, you know, big-time movie as Batman, so where he's obviously the Joker. Credited, you know, he's credited as that, and he said he's going to be the next one. Like, this guy's been in a lot of good movies, and I liked his character. It's pretty interesting. The whole woman who's mute and can't talk, why make a superpower being that can do that when her power is speed, nothing to do with it? Bill Skarsgård, I think he voiced that creature. That was cool. And this Sprite, I thought it was a stupid name for a character, and they made it a child, which makes sense. And overall, the movie was good. I felt like if they cut down the movie from 2 hours and 35 minutes with credits, because there are, spoiler, 2 post-credit scenes, one with Kit Harington and one with some of the other characters, that this movie would have been way better if it was maybe just 2 hours, not 2 hours and 35 minutes. You cut out some of the bad scenes. You make it a little bit more realistic in terms of whose character's importance is more important than the others. I did get a kick out of Kumail Nanjiani's character, making himself a Bollywood actor, having an assistant who knows everything. You know, that was interesting. And then a little cameo by Harry Styles, I'm going to say that he is whacking way too hard to be Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake had his success with NSYNC. They broke up. He had his success as a solo artist, and then he said, I'm going to become an actor, and he's done it very good. I don't think Harry Styles had enough success with his band One Direction, and I don't think it has had that much success as a solo artist, way compared to what Timberlake's doing for him to be in all these movies and think he's an actor. That's just me. I don't know how big of a role he's going to have in the second movie or Kit Harington, but this movie was flawed. It's not the best Marvel movie. It's not the worst Marvel movie. It's just a very flawed movie. And one thing I also wanted to get to part of this movie was I was really happy that Brian Tyree Henry was in this movie. He's one of my favorite television actors, and he was just playing a comedic role in that Godzilla, King Kong movie. I thought that was great. This one, they showed that he was like this amazing inventor, genius, giving technology to people. That was cool, and he was trying to save the day. I liked it because, I'm a huge fan of the show Atlanta, and if it weren't for Donald Glover saying I'm leaving Community, going to my own projects, making movies and stuff, I don't think any of this would have happened because he's the one that found Zazie Beetz, who got to be in Joker and Deadpool and continues to be in big-time movies. He found Lakeith Lee Stanfield, who's been in a lot of movies, and if it weren't for the success of Atlanta, no one would have known him, Zazie, and Brian Tyree Henry, who get to be in these huge blockbuster films and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like is the movie's all based off comic books, but I don't know 100% in the comics if the Eternals has a Black Eternal, 2 Black Eternal, a child who I don't know what her race is specifically, a Middle Eastern one, and then Salma Hayek, who's Hispanic, and Gemma Chan, who's Asian. I just felt like they kind of diversified the heck out of this movie when they didn't have to. And then they also said, let's make it where he has a husband and he's married. You didn't have to do that. You could just been like, okay, he's living his own life. He does not want to be bothered, blah, blah, blah. That also was a wasted scene because I don't care. I also didn't care about Gemma Chan being in a relationship with Kit Harington. That's like a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. The last movie we watched was Censor with this Nima Algar, who I've seen before. Saving Graces, it's an hour and 20 minutes with credits, but it's almost like an hour, 18, 19 minutes before the movie's over. It's basically this woman in the 80s in England. She works for a company and they censor films to see what's wrong with it. That's her job. But there's a sad story about her sister disappearing or dying and her parents and her are still not over it. She makes a mistake with something, so she's in the limelight. She meets some producer, blah, blah, blah. And she's thinking that the things that happened to her sister disappeared have to do with the movie that this producer who hit on her made. So she goes back in this like lucid dreaming thing of watching all these movies, thinking that maybe she'll find the answer in there. Then she'll go like, you know what, I got to confront these people. And I don't know if it was in the movie or in the movie. She just kills a bunch of people and she thinks she finds her sister, but she doesn't. It was horrible. Obviously, I dozed off at a bit of it for a short movie, and that's not a good thing to do. But again, I went back and started watching it. I'm like, this movie is so dumb. It makes absolutely no sense. She kills the producer. She starts killing the director. I was like, I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense. I will say this. F9 was the best movie, but you have to have seen the franchise. Eternals was a flawed, long movie, but it was the second best movie I watched. And One Night in Miami, I liked the concept, but it was just a little bit too long and didn't watch Censor. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 131. For On the Radar Table Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.